it needed. And that's why you see convictions. That's why you see these
Why
programs
did it
going forward.
take nearly 7 years for you to get engaged to stop the fraud? 7 years.
We started in 2019, Congresswoman. It may be a surprise in place, and Inspector
Governor
General.
Governor Walz, you did not do your job. You did not do your job. You did not.
Welcome back to Freedom Forge. If you're new here and value truth, liberty, and accountability in our government, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a video. Today, we're breaking down a Senate hearing that really should have every American alarmed, especially if you care about how your hard-earned tax dollars are being spent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank our witnesses for being here. Governor, you've reminded people that you were here last June. At that time, I reminded you that the Feeding Our Future scam made Minnesota ground zero for the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the nation. $250 million in federal taxpayer funds were taken out of the mouths of hungry children, and as the FBI noted, they were, quote, funneled into luxury homes, cars, and lavish lifestyles while families struggled. You assured me then that you wholeheartedly supported the federal government's effort to bring those responsible to justice. I appreciate your sentiment, but a person's actions matter more than their words. Governor Walz, when did you first become aware of the fraud in Feeding Our Future? A specific date, please.
Well, Congressman, it's good to see you. And having served in your job for 12 years, I can tell you my job is a little different as governor. For 7 years, I take a lot of meetings. I certainly wouldn't specifically state, but I think during that pandemic, I think by late 2020, we started to see the irregularities. They were flagged. And I will note that we cooperated.
State officials were aware of the fraud in early 2020.
So you're asking when I, in my office, the governor became good, and I don't have a specific date. But what I would say is we provided witnesses, documents, the U.S. Attorney and the FBI, and 79 of those people have been prosecuted going back to 2022.
Okay. Well, when I was chair of the Committee on Education and Workforce, I issued you a subpoena in September 2024 because you and your administration were not forthcoming about how your administration, quote, failed to identify what has been described as the largest pandemic fraud in the nation, end quote. In September 2024, you were aware of the Feeding Our Future fraud and your administration's handling of it, correct? Yes or no?
2024? Yes, by that time we had already put people in jail and had extensively investigated.
This committee has testimony that the Minnesota Department of Education briefed your office about the Feeding Our Future's draft lawsuit and litigation hold on April 28, 2020. Let me jog your memory. Is that correct?
I can't speak specifically to that. And if it's
it was April 2020. That means Feeding Our Future received a total of over $200 million in federal funds after you and your administration knew about the fraud concerns. Why didn't you stop sending money to Feeding Our Future as soon as the fraud concerns were raised?
Congressman, is following the program, we notified USGA under the Trump administration's first term. We had notified them, too, because it's a program administered out of USDA, and they were working to work through the process. Eventually,
didn't you say you were fearful of political retaliation?
No, I never said any such thing. I never said any such thing.
Well, that's what we understood. You were afraid of political retaliation. So, given the size and scope of the Feeding Our Future's fraud, I think you and your administration would have been on high alert looking for additional fraud in the state. But after seeing the handling of Feeding Our Futures and its $250 million in fraud, it came as no surprise to learn that even more staggering amounts of fraud, estimated at up to $9 billion, were uncovered in the Child Care Assistance Program, the Minnesota Medicaid program, and other programs. How could you allow such massive fraud schemes in your state to get to this point?
Congresswoman, we don't see anything by 9 million. Local press and everyone reports it about 300 million. But as I've said, if it's $1, it's too much. But we started in 2019 putting anti-fraud programs forward. After Feeding Our Future, we started going through and making sure every program had the integrity in it that it needed. And that's why you see convictions. That's
But
why you see these
why
programs
did
going
it
forward.
take nearly 7 years for you to get engaged to stop the fraud? 7 years.
We started in 2019, Congresswoman. It may be a surprise. If you arrest someone for stealing a car, other people are still going to try and steal cars. What we've tried to do is bring program integrity, but I'll go back to this. We're not going to shut down programs that have things that are going well in it, and we need to find that proper balance. And I've acknowledged that every year we're putting things in place. And Inspector General,
Governor Walz, you did not do your job. You did not do your job. You did not protect taxpayer dollars. You allowed massive fraud. You and Mr. Ellison allowed massive fraud to go on in the state of Minnesota. And it is unfortunate, as somebody said, that you can't be held personally responsible at this stage of the game. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
This particular hearing focused on the massive Feeding Our Future scandal in Minnesota, the largest pandemic-era fraud case in the nation, where at least $250 million in federal funds meant to provide meals to hungry children during COVID were instead stolen, grifted away into luxury cars, mansions, and outrageous lifestyles. The scale of it is just mind-blowing. The FBI described this fraud as unprecedented, and what's worse, it happened right under the nose of state officials and the governor's office. Now, let me walk you through exactly what happened at the hearing, and then I'll give you my take as a proud conservative, a patriot, and someone sick and tired of seeing bureaucratic incompetence just swept under the rug. So you had Dr. Fox, a representative from North Carolina, grilling Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. She confronted him with hard facts that the Feeding Our Future scam made Minnesota ground zero for the largest COVID-19 fraud scheme in the entire country. She quoted the FBI, calling out how millions were funneled into luxury cars and homes while real families were struggling to put food on the table. She pressed Governor Walz for specifics. When did he know about the fraud, and why wasn't more done to stop it right away? The governor? He danced around the question. He couldn't give a specific date. He vaguely said he became aware of irregularities by late 2020, even though his own state officials were aware of red flags much earlier. Meanwhile, Dr. Fox reminded him that his administration was subpoenaed for failing to be transparent about the situation, and that as early as April 2020, Walz's own office was briefed about litigation and concerns regarding Feeding Our Future. But here's the kicker. Even after these red flags, over $200 million continued to flow into this corrupt organization. Walz's excuse? He pointed fingers at the federal USDA under the Trump administration, saying it was technically their program and that they were following the rules. But if you ask me, this is the classic government shell game. Who's actually responsible? Is it the feds? Is it the state? Or do they both get to pass the buck forever? Dr. Fox didn't let him off easy. She exposed the fact that it wasn't just feeding our future. After that disaster, you'd expect the Minnesota state government to be on high alert for more fraud. Right? Wrong. Dr. Fox points out that other programs, like Minnesota's Child Care Assistance and Medicaid, saw even larger fraud estimates, possibly totaling up to $9 billion. Yes, billion with a B. Governor Walz tries to spin the numbers. He downplays the scale, saying local press reports only about 300 million. But let's face it, does it even matter if it's 300 million, 1 billion, or a 9 billion? It's all taxpayer money. Put simply, fraud of this scale is a direct theft from those in need and from every honest American who pays taxes. Now, let me spell this out as a conservative who loves this country and is fed up with runaway government. This feeding program was supposed to help the most vulnerable during a crisis. Instead, bureaucrats and grifters used it as a slush fund. The governor claims efforts started in 2019 to fight fraud, but if that's true, they failed miserably. When Dr. Fox calls him out for only really acting after public exposure and arrest after arrest, he responds with tired analogies about arresting car thieves. That's not leadership. That's making excuses. And this isn't just about Minnesota. This is a warning shot to every state and every citizen. Big spending programs, especially those rushed out in the name of relief, become ripe for abuse when there's no oversight and zero consequences. The very fact that the governor wasn't clear, didn't take full responsibility, and tried to minimize the fraud just infuriates me. This is emblematic of the soft corruption we see in so much of blue state governance. There's a culture of shifting blame, of never truly punishing those responsible, and of treating taxpayer dollars like monopoly money. This hearing is important because it shows us the anatomy of government failure: to admit wrongdoing, to react quickly, to take ownership, and most of all, to put meaningful safeguards in place so this never happens again. So I have a message for every conservative out there. This is what happens when government grows too large, when officials are more concerned with protecting their careers than protecting your wallet. It's time for real reforms. Oversight, transparency, accountability. These are not partisan issues. They're American values, and they're what set us apart. When the bureaucrats screw up this badly, there must be consequences, not just empty apologies. If you're as outraged as I am, don't just vent, get active. Demand answers from your own state and federal reps. Support candidates who take fraud and waste seriously, regardless of party label. And most of all, keep shining a spotlight on this kind of corruption. The media isn't going to hold these people accountable. We have to do it. Remember, freedom requires vigilance. That's what we stand for at Freedom Forge. If you appreciate this kind of breakdown, without the spin, and holding all parties accountable, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. Get the word out. Together, we can demand a government that protects, not squanders, your liberty and your resources. Thanks for watching. Stay vigilant, stay free.